'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above the door. Need all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all. I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. Yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. So sweet again. Oh, na, 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh, na, 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, and now I know what I need to do. Can't stand right when it's blowing, pushing me down. Feels like I'm falling apart, yet I hold on. Head held high, can't fight this feeling no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all. Meet all my challenges, search for my strength. I defeat them all. I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh, na, 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, and now I know what I need to do. Oh, na, 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh, na, 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, and now I know what I need to do.
Thank you, Dream Child. Thank you much. I appreciate that. Benjamin, can you hear me?
I can, brother.
How are you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm wondering if you heard some music playing. Did
That
you
was
hear-
some good stuff. That was some
Awesome.
good stuff.
I am trying to learn how to do this better, and I thought, people have to wait for me to post these links, and so why don't I play them a song? Did you guys in chat hear that music? I want to make sure I've got it working right. You shouldn't hear it now, of course. I bet you did, though, because if Ben heard it, you probably did. And then, let me see, I got to hit stop. Okay, I already hit stop share, so I think there's just a lag is all. People are getting ready to see you, too. Come up here. And,
How unfortunate for them.
oh, you kidding? I love your face. I love your mug. I love your voice. I love your medicine. We're going to talk about that. And
Nice.
all right. So, guys, happy Thursday. Benjamin and I thought we would do a little cast. We were actually talking earlier, and I kept saying, man, we should be talking about this on air. And Ben's like, no, man, we're just speculating. I was like, you don't understand, man. It's cool. People understand. I'm wearing the same shirt. I've been wearing the same shirt a long time. People are not coming here to see anything polished in any way, shape, or form. So I think this is good. There's a lot of facts on the ground, and there's definitely things that I think could be talked about. So I would like for you to tell the audience just how many roosters you have in one like area?
I've got about 50 roosters that all freely roam together all the time. Yeah,
See,
and they tell you you can only have one or two, and otherwise it's a huge problem. So I'm not even 100% sure what they're talking about in any way, because my roosters don't even really particularly fight. They once in a while get into little yes, and then the turkey will run up, break it up, but there's no real fights. There's no blood. There's nobody killing anybody.
so are you saying that if we were to have, say, a land where there were 50 men, that they could just be left alone to sort of live free and in some sort of cohesive harmony? Is that
Without somebody bullying them and making rules. They just run around and do what they want.
wow, that sounds like crazy talk, man. Are you kidding?
I know. How would we accomplish that?
Yep. All right, so guys, we're going to be going all over the place here, but here's what I want to talk about. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about, and Ben's going to tell you what he wants to talk about, and then we're going to talk about both of them. I think it's going to work out great. The thing that's most on my mind right now is what the hell's happening. And when I say what the hell's happening, I'm specifically talking about tracking just a few specific facts. And I want you guys to know that Ben, out of respect for you, was like, I don't know if you really want me to be guessing, but this is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna be guessing here a little bit, okay? But here's what we're not guessing about. All right, there are 4 facts that we can track that are undisputable. Number 1, Trump, our government, however you want to call it, DC, the fictitious organization that's ruling so many lives right now, is prepping for a lot of dead bodies under the auspice of a COVID vaccine or a COVID virus. And there are testing centers all over the world. I'm getting pictures from Louisiana where they're literally putting up signs saying, do not talk. Like, you may not talk to workers here. Basically, it's like a National Guard base that you're going into if you want to get tested, and they're telling you you're not allowed to speak on the premises to anyone that works there. That's fucking whacked, all right? And that's happening in broad daylight. That's not just Louisiana. There's a lot of things that are happening like that, all right? Number 2, COVID, as you know from the wonderful Dr. Andy Kaufman, is a virus out of 380 billion. There are 380 billion viruses in your body. And if the government's going to declare war on them, they need to write a fucking list and tell us how many of our 380 billion viruses do you want to declare war on? Because this is fucked up. And COVID is one of those viruses that secretes from your cells as a response to some sort of injury. So we are blaming, it's like saying Band-Aids are the cause of bleeding. That's what Trump is actively telling you right now. He's telling you that Band-Aids are the problem and that we're having a war on Band-Aids.
I like that analogy.
What we're not talking about is how you're getting stabbed, okay? We're not talking about that. So again, fact 2, COVID is already in your cells. COVID is not a bioweapon, okay? It's not SARS. Shut the fuck up if you keep saying this is a chemical attack from China. It's not. It's your cells secreting because you're being attacked from something else. Stop blaming your body for wanting to kill you all the time, guys. Stop pretending like humanity is a virus. Humanity is not a virus, okay? The lack of humanity is the virus. It's the lack of humanity, and that's what we're trying to work on. So that's fact number 2. Now, fact number 3, when these bodies drop, it's going to have to look like a virus. Trump's going to want it to look like a virus, or else this whole thing isn't going to work. All right? So whatever's about to happen is going to look like a virus, and it's going to be in a lot of different cities nationwide at the same time. Number 4, we know he wants to blame China. We know that. If you guys have been tracking me for a while, you already know the QAnon, Steve Bannon, Naval Warfare Intelligence, Hollywood, Harvard, Breitbart, release Pizzagate, release the Anthony Weiner laptop, release the Epstein laptop, always scooped every single story involving anything that would have anything at all to do with elite satanic pedophiles. This guy is playing us like a fucking fiddle. And when you track that, you understand that the person playing the fiddle also is going to let some things go that are going to give them away. One of which is Steve Bannon's been saying for years and years, our biggest threat by far is China. While half of them were claiming Russia was going to kill us, Steve Bannon was over here saying it's China. China's going to kill us. That's number 4, guys. Trump is calling this a Chinese virus. Okay, there's no reason to call this a Chinese virus. It makes no sense. Now, let's think about just for a second, war with China. Who would war with China hurt? It would hurt China. It would hurt America. Why? Because our economies have been subterraneanly interweaving themselves for years and years and years. Who owns all our debt? Who owns most of the manufacturing plants that America relies on? There's zero benefit in China attacking America or in America attacking China. There is a benefit in China and America pretending that they are attacking each other. There is a huge profit if both countries were to sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, if we were to have a war, both of us could use that to our advantage. Both of us could use it to lock down certain protocols in our country that would make our lives as leaders a lot easier. There's a benefit to feigning a war. Guys, there's always a benefit to staging a war. There's never a benefit to just having a war break out. This is why governments don't start wars. They plan wars. They architect wars, okay? This is an architecture. I need you to picture that you're at you're watching pro wrestling on television. And before you're in the ring, you've got Rowdy Rod Piper and, I don't know, someone else. And the Andre the Giant. And in the middle is the tuxedo guy with the mic. And he's having a nice conversation with the two. And then all of a sudden they start fighting. In fact, they start to almost kill each other. But somehow this little 5-foot-tall referee is able to stop them from mortal damage. But they're yelling at each other. They're building up the tension. They're creating the storyline for you to buy into. They're giving you something to watch. Now when it goes into the ring, you're going to be rooting for one of two sides. You've been invested in something. Someone's insulting someone. It's a Chinese virus. Someone's threatening to attack someone. Someone's claiming someone else attacked someone. There's a lot of advantages to America and China staging a war for each other for both sides. Okay, guys? So again, real quick. We've already prepped for a lot of dead bodies that aren't there. All these tents are empty. Trump would look like a fool if this whole thing just blew over and all we had are these just blank empty tents everywhere and nothing else. That wouldn't make any sense at all. Number 2, COVID's already in your cells. It's not a bioweapon. Number 3, it needs to look like a viral attack. Number 4, there's advantages to blaming China. So what the hell's happening? What is coming? Because something's coming. It doesn't make any sense for it not to be coming. The last thing that this would do, I think, is just go away like this. It just doesn't make any sense. Ben, you got any thoughts?
One of my thoughts, and the main one being with China, when you look at China as an enemy, there's good reason that China has never been a major factor in any of the wars before this. And it's not because they don't have the manpower, because China has what, a quarter of the world's population, a large percentage. So what people don't understand about China is that China's got internal warring factions amongst their government. It's not a unified government like the United States. It's more like the United States during the Civil War. And so any type of war that they're going to actually go to, this is one government. And if they send off all their troops away from China, this is immediately going to open up a vacuum for the other factions to move into. So if anything, if, as you're saying, this being advantageous to China, uh, if I was going to speculate on that, I would state that um, using a disease to unify it and bring the entirety of China under control before that, in order to try and solidify a more unified power, that would be a real interesting way to do it, because you've basically locked everybody up in their homes. Handicapped everything. As we're seeing in the United States, it's an easy way to just automatically seize power. Um, my girlfriend Christy, just the other night, the city of Reading, where she works, she's got a massage studio inside a doctor's office because she does medical massage. They called her and tried to set up an appointment on a sting operation to see if she was operating when they're saying, you're not an essential business. They're shutting down. They're choosing exactly who can make money and who can't. All these people that are getting excited about the Trump check for $1,200. Well, what about when you've been out of work for 4 months? That's not even sticking your thumb in the dam. That leak is already so giant that $1,200 is going to flow right out like you never saw it. That's just to cover the bills you've been running up for 4 months. I mean, I don't care what the government says about taking care of rent control and mortgage payments and stuff. That's going to apply to a very few people. The majority of people are not going to see any benefit from that in any way, and the entire lower echelon of the country is living on that. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, and your landlord is living paycheck to paycheck, this just isn't feasible. So they're able to take and completely control the country with this, even though it's being devastating to us. People are openly seeing the devastation and cheering for more. And I don't see how you could do that underneath just typical control. If I just came in as a government and said, listen, I'm taking in total control, the people will fight. But just like the iron mine here in Reading, iron mine is one of the most toxic places on the planet, so they say. And basically, you'll turn into the Swamp Thing if you walk into there. I have friends that live on the next ridge, and there's people down there doing all kinds of work all the time. But nobody goes in there and investigates that place, because you will die of toxicity from walking in there. It's a much more effective deterrent than "we told you no."
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that we've been doing that for a long, long time. I mean, if you look at the photos of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, those are fire bombs. Those aren't nuclear warheads. Those are fire bombs. And Sun's Art of War, make your enemy think you are bigger than you are, is always going to work. Your roosters know that. This is all about staging and posing. It would be a pretty weak government for them not to do that. With that said, let's keep in mind one more important factor in all this. 5G can't be the culprit. Whatever's going to drop a lot of bodies is not going to be traditional 5G, and I'll tell you why. Because the second you see that it's 5G, there's no more 5G in the country anymore. So it's not. You're going to want to slide that in after something else is happening. Now, it's easy to blame 5G right now, which is always look for calories. Truth is always going to be surrounded with three things: calories, tar, and feathers. And right now, 5G doesn't have those things. Everyone's pushing the dangers of 5G, the concerns of 5G, just as much they're pushing how great 5G is. There are definitely shills on Twitter, just like the vaccine shills. There's actually people, some of you guys may not know this, that there's, just like a corporation would hire a social media team, this social media team would hang out on Twitter all day and just post things about their product. You have industries that do the same thing. Industries will push or
Correct the Record by David Brock. Easy one to pull up right off the top of my head. Correct the Record. It's a whole company that's all they do is push social media narratives.
Great. So we know that happens. Now, we know that with Smith Moon, there's an actual law in place that not only says it's allowed, but funds it. The government is actually given tax dollars to lie to us, to hire social media companies and do things. Your accounts like Storm is Upon Us, that's a perfect example of that. This is a naval warfare intelligence account that basically is there to pump Trump all day long. Same with vaccines, same with any industry really. And 5G is another one of those industries. When you're talking about 5G, you're going to see things either way. My point is that 5G seems to be what they want to slip in, and they're going to create as many fireworks around it as they can in order to slip that in. And because of that, you're not going to see those two things related. You're whatever's going to drop the bodies can never ever come out of a 5G tower. It's just not going to work that way, at least for now, at least until they get this set up. Now, that's when this is now where it's time for speculation. Okay, this is the part where we enter the yurt of speculation, as we will call it.
Can I add on to your point of the 5G though, quick? One of the things and one of the reasons that we know that this would be nearly impossible is one of the things people don't understand about 5G is it's very similar to a magnet. So the lower powered the magnet, the broader the field. With a very low powered magnet, you have an extremely wide field for how much it affects. And the stronger the magnet, the stronger that field, the smaller it is. So as you jack up the power of it and how much, what the Gauss is, it actually makes it a much smaller field. So the area around that it affects isn't near as much. Now the area that it affects is much greater, or what it affects in that area is a much stronger pull, but it's a smaller area. The same applies with 5G. So as they're upgrading and raising the power bar, they're having to also bring in more repeaters and more signal senders because it's a much smaller and shorter signal. So any sickness, if we're going to base this on 5G, is going to be really noticeable really quick because the space around those towers and around those repeaters is really small that the 5G will actually affect.
So the equivalent analogy would be like a water hose. If you've got it on spray mist, or you've got it on like a focused laser.
Perfect.
Right? Yep.
Perfect. And so with the 5G, it's going to be more laser-like. So if we're seeing symptoms and it's in that shallow area that the 5G will carry, that's going to be pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yep. And that's going to be the first thing that's going to be suspected because of all the chatter that's on the boards, which again is why it's not going to be a 5G tower that's doing this, which means, guys, you're not going to be safe by going, well, there's no 5G towers around, so I'm good. That's not what we're talking about. Now, before we get to speculation.
Which isn't to say we're not saying 5G is going to be good for your body. We are not saying that.
Well, we know that it's not going to be good because it's 60 gigahertz. You're losing the ability to absorb hemoglobin, and that's a big deal. If you can't do that, you're going to have some pretty fucked up symptoms. You're not going to have a good time. But again, they want to protect 5G to put it in. Now, why do we know that 5G is a part of this hit? Because on the 22nd, Trump signed the executive order saying we got to have 5G. He said we got to have 5G. We got to have 5G to fix the virus. We got to have 5G to save the country. Now, in order to do that, he's going to have to lose the internet that we have now. What I mean by that is that the internet we have now is going to have to probably take a hit. And when it takes a hit, here's why. The executive order he signed, he said that 5G is a matter of national security. He's right when the COVID virus broke out, he made that executive order saying 5G is a matter of national security.
And declared war, specific word, war on the COVID virus.
Yes. And all of us have the COVID virus. We're all born with it. So who did Trump declare war on exactly, guys? But the carriers of the COVID virus. And we are the carriers of the COVID virus. This is why I've been pushing this tagline of humanity is not a virus, because this is a war on humanity. And he's allowed to say this out in the open without lying about it. He can use all this language and still mean exactly what he means because he's able to. Basically, this is black magic in plain sight. It's your typical, it always happens this way. Now, 5G is wireless, and a lot of you picture it, well, it shouldn't be that bad. It would be like cell towers, but you got to follow it. This is a matter of national security. That means the line of sight is a matter of national security. So if line of sight is the matter of national security, that means anything from line of sight to the ground is going to be a matter of national security. If that's a matter of national security, you are now looking at a military occupied 5G terrain grid stretched all across the country. There are 19,450 cities in America. And if all of them have 5G, you're going to need basically a line of sight protected national security grid that connects all those things. And right now you might think that's not so bad. Actually, some of you guys do think that's bad, but I'm actually going to tell you it's actually worse, because you might be picturing that there's like a border patrol guy who drives by in a truck every now and then. And I'm telling you, I don't think it has to be that way. I think we're looking at automated blockchain drone security, flying drone security run on a blockchain, which means there's no human to appeal to. There's no one to say, hey, this isn't fair. No, you're not going to have that option. So we're looking at a literal invasion of our country by a corporation, not even the corporation of DC, but by Raytheon. Why would a weapons manufacturer with the largest client in the world, the Pentagon, why would they say, hey, let's go compete with Verizon in the wireless business? Does that make any sense? No, unless it's something else like this. So keep in mind how crucial 5G is. Like on the long-term goals, keep in mind how crucial 5G is going to be, not just for China, but for America. Now I want you to come back to this idea of them staging a war together. Because if they both want that, staging a war with each other is the perfect way to get that. Why? Because they can take down the entire internet and blame it on China. And not only that, Trump can come out and say, well, China took down our internet. Those bastards. We're going to have to rebuild a new one. And it's going to have to be strong. We're going to have to make sure no one can ever attack it because of those damn Chinese. Meanwhile, you've got a bioweapon that he gets to claim. Plus, there's a bioweapon. So we have to take care of this bioweapon. 9/11 was a perfect storm, guys. It wasn't, just Building 7. It wasn't just the North Tower. It wasn't just the South Tower. It wasn't just dancing Israelis. It wasn't just glycerin. Or it wasn't any of these, all these different theories. It wasn't just a plane. It wasn't the guys in Florida. It wasn't the secret Saudi group. All these rumors that you hear, that's called pillage. And you're throwing as many things on the pile as you can just to confuse things. So what you're looking at, I know, is going to be pillage, which means all of us are going to be pointing in different directions. That's called the fog of war. That's crucial. That's going to be a crucial ingredient here. All right. So now it's speculation time. We know it's going to not be anything about, it's going to be nothing about 5G. We know it's going to be blamed on a foreign power, some kind of attack. How can you make it look like a viral attack is coming, but it's not from a 5G tower? And this is the part where we're speculating, total speculating, okay? I don't know. I have some words that come to mind, one of which is drones. Now, a drone is very easy to camouflage. It's a very inexpensive form of technology. You can hide a drone in plain daylight. You can even make a drone quiet. Benjamin, how would you hide a drone in daylight with sight?
So I actually have a personal story of this. So I was with Steve Poikinen of Slow News Day, and we were interviewing Cynthia McKinney. Awesome. Anybody that doesn't know Cynthia McKinney, she is one of the most outspoken politicians against the system. And when she originally got elected, she's a black woman. So she hits all the markers in the minority check boxes for the social politics game. They're ready to, they told her flat out her career was made. She's ready to just slide right in and have the forever seat. And they told her that she needed to do some things in order to make that happen. And she said, but those are things that I didn't promise to my constituents, and I don't think they'll want it. And became very vocal about it to the point where she had to go move to Bangladesh. So we were discussing this with her and some of the inside things that she had seen. And whenever we would ask her a pointed question and she would start in with a pointed answer, we would get a 15-second gap where we got no audio in any way. So this was frustrating, but it happened enough times that we were able to time the gap. And it was like, well, that's pretty strange. Why is that so uniform? If it was just losing signal, this should vary in time. Well, we went outside to have a cigarette after the interview was over, and my girlfriend looks over and sees a drone just below her head level. She elbows Steve Poikinen and says, "Do you see that?" And he turns over. He says, "Yes, I do." And that drone, it rose up above eye level and immediately cloaked and disappeared. Well, this is because LED technology, even in the public at this point, we have LED projectors that will do super high definition, take almost no power, and fit in your pocket.
Yep.
What do you think the military has access to?
Yeah, and just to clarify, guys, all you have to do is a fiber optic cable is showing whatever light's broadcasted on one side is being broadcasted out the fiber optic cable on the other side. So even the cabling itself doesn't require power. You just need that central light. And this dome doesn't have to cover the entire drone. It could stay on the bottom. It could be like a giant bowl of cereal, basically suspended below the drone that hangs there. And that bowl of cereal is wrapped with LED lights that are just simply broadcasting whatever is exactly on the opposite side of it. That's an invisible piece of technology. Now, the novel that I'm writing, this is why I was like, dude, we got to put this on the air because a lot of people don't think about this. The novel I'm writing is about some drones and this futuristic thing. And a great horned owl has serrated feathers. What that means is that their feathers are, they've got these little tiny cuts on them, and the serration makes them super whisper quiet. You basically can't hear anything. They can swoop in on a mouse, and the mouse has no idea it's coming. You just don't know what hit it. Those serrated combs, picture it like a tiny comb, the drone props could be serrated in such a way where you would not be able to hear the drone flying. It would be a whisper quiet piece of technology with this cereal bowl basically camouflage that's broadcasting the light, which means in broad daylight, you would neither hear nor see this drone. Now, if you had something like that, all you would have to do is connect some sort of EMF gun to it. Now, I think Ben's right. That would be more of like a focus kind of a thing that's going to require like a direct focus. Also, the problem with this theory is that I think it takes months. I think it takes months for this to really start to fuck with your system before you start showing symptoms. So it's not going to be something where, like in War of the Worlds, where it just drives by and then you've been, phased out. I think you could suffer from asphyxiation. You could suffer from serious heat. You've seen this kind of weaponry out there. But if it's going to be drone based, it's not going to be that simple. I think it would have to be, and this is where I want to hear what you have to say, Ben, but it would have to be some kind of HARP array, like a floating array of some kind that was causing multiple signals that could somehow be, the cavitation would mix in some way. And then, but even that, it would still have to take a while. These things could be underground. They could be smart meters. I'm just guessing. But it's going to have to be a long exposure, right? I don't know of the tech that could just come over and just turn on a gun, and then boom, everybody's secreting COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know of any technology myself, unless whatever was doing it was only a activator. They have figured out how to turn on, unless it's somehow where they've figured out how to turn on and activate something in your system. Sorry, somebody tried calling me. They figured out how to activate something in your system, which, may or may not have been present in your system already. Like if you listen to Dr. Kaufman's presentation, the way he states things, basically it's already there. Like when I spoke to him about the herpes virus.
Mm-hmm.
And he said 90% of us have the herpes virus already in us. And we will all test positive for it, whether we had what you would consider herpes, which is the seeing of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm. It's more like, if it's been secreted or not, I guess.
Right, which is what we would consider the symptom.
Yeah.
Where it's become problematic. So even in that, there's got to be some trigger that's bringing that out then. What's causing that to manifest? So possibly they have figured out some way to manifest something, whether there's been something inside of you already, you were born with it, it's been implanted through the food and the water or vaccinations. It almost seems like if you were going to do it instantaneously, like you were just saying, that would have to be the way. I don't see, like you said, anything that could in and of itself just cause you to be that sick, that quickly. Mm-hmm. Unless it was just an act, just the trigger, which somehow coincidentally, along with the COVID, which I haven't seen as many reports of it lately in the last week. When I say lately, because this just started happening maybe 2 months ago, was that large report of all these lights that people are seeing, a string of lights above their cities.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and this somehow coincided with the timing of when COVID started being a problem. Mm-hmm. And I've actually had a number of friends that posted saying, I see these are flying above my house. What is going on? And a lot of the speculation that I've seen on there has been that it's Elon Musk's, what is that, SpaceX? Mm-hmm. But why are we seeing that all over the world then?
Yeah. Yeah.
SpaceX only launches out of Southern California, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, it's okay that we don't know. We don't have to tell people what it is, but we can certainly point to the footprints, and we can certainly say this slipper doesn't fit, this slipper might fit, and I don't know what the fuck this is.
Yeah.
and that's okay. Because that's why we're here. What's important, guys, is that all of you. So I want you to start stop believing this idea that anything's possible, and this is not a limiting thing. Philosophy. It's realize that actually it's not the case to say anything's possible, because if you understand someone's motivations, you actually realize that half of the things actually are not possible. Because no one's going to do something that isn't within their motivation. It's going to have to be something inside their motivation that they're going to want to do. Now, government, even if everyone in government is like the nicest person that you ever imagined, their actual job is to control us psychologically, genetically, eugenically, and propaganda educationally. That's the job of government. If they didn't do that, they would be a bad government. They wouldn't be the government. They wouldn't be able to do a good job at that. It's just built into the system. So understand what the motivations are. Use those motivations to understand what is being said. What is Trump saying? And more importantly, understand what Trump is not saying. And try and apply all those things together so we can figure out what the hell's going on. Because we also have border containment. we yes, we're being told to stay in our homes, but we're not being told not to cross the border. We're physically not allowed to cross the border. That this isn't like a, hey, I would prefer it if you would not leave the state of Florida. This is a, if you're going to leave the state of Florida, you're going to have to pull over into the way station, and you're going to have to explain why you're leaving. That's not the same as putting out a sheet of paper saying, hey, social distance with your car, man, or with your state. You know, it's
The
not
same
this.
applies to Trinity County, California, right next door to Shasta County. I live in Shasta County. Trinity County, there's cops at the border. If you do not live in Trinity County, or you're not delivering goods to Trinity County, you are not allowed.
Now, this is the problem. To me, this is a huge red flag because it takes a lot of calories to convince all of these local state departments to shut their county down. That's some serious work involved there. I'm not saying that it's not impossible or that Trump couldn't just do it, but I'm saying he had to burn calories to do that. Why would he do that? Why does he not only want us to stay in our houses, but he wants to make sure no one can leave a certain area? And to me, right now, that may not seem a big deal, but do me a favor. Imagine all these factors with one base new base fact. There is no internet, there is no communication. When you understand that the grid goes down, suddenly the containment starts to make more sense. Suddenly it starts to say, wait a minute, now I get why they're trying to contain it. And it worries me a little bit where you're at, Ben, because of the testing site that's so close. And I've got friends in Louisiana that are really close to these testing sites. Anywhere there's a hospital, anywhere there's with a big tent that's empty right now, I'm kind of concerned about people that are in that area. And because they're going to get to say, the government is going to get to tell their symbolic ritual bullshit black magic stuff. They're going to be able to show, hey, we told them this was coming. We set up hospital tents to protect them. We told them that we were going to have a war on the virus. We told them everything that they needed to know. And that's the part that's concerning me. I'm in the mountains. It doesn't mean I'm all going to be good, but what I mean is that it's going to take a shitload of work for them to come to me because of where I'm at. There's nothing like this. All I'm seeing is just, hey, can you stay at home? That'd be great. That's all we get around here. So these are all the factors that are on the ground. I'm not trying to panic anybody. I purposely didn't post this though on Facebook because I figured I'd rather just, if you guys want to come over here and listen, then I'll tell you this. I don't know how safe it is to be close to a testing station right now. I don't know how safe it is to be close to a hospital that has a bunch of fucking empty tents that are waiting for dead bodies. And I don't know if it's such a good idea that in that area, the entire thing is a perimeter, basically an unguarded perimeter.
Can I throw a few other things in there to add to some facts to this?
Yep.
So just 2 years ago, Reading was the epicenter for the fires. And if you watched the fires in any way, that was extraordinarily odd. And there's absolutely no way that you can believe that that was natural in any way. I personally witnessed cars that half the car, the rims on the car were melted.
Yep.
You know what kind of heat it takes to melt a rim? And the other side of the car was fine. The bushes 5 feet from the car, fine. I saw Shasta Lake, the lake out here, the dock, completely fine. The boat sitting out on the water, burnt to a crisp. This is, that was Whiskey Town Lake. Yep, that's right. So it was absolutely odd. Well, then you throw into there Iron Mountain, which is the third biggest Superfund site in the country, which basically, if people don't know what a Superfund is, that's a slush fund that they've set up for a toxic cleanup that basically has no accounting for it. So we can just send millions of dollars to you, and we're just going to assume you're using that to clean up whatever toxic, nasty spill is going on and making it safe for the world. There's a few spots that are always a problem, and will be for the foreseeable future. Iron Mountain is one of them. Well, this is where Mount Shasta is, the root of the world. And all of those underground tunnels connect in there.
Yeah.
So all this activity is happening at the root center. And right now in Redding, and I will go do a video of it here, just like after you and I get done, I'll go make a video of it here in a minute. They've got the hospitals, the outside hospitals, just like on Outbreak or on some zombie movie. But you drive up there, there's not a person there.
Yep.
Like, as a matter of fact, the hospital seems emptier than it normally is.
Yep. There's also reports. I would not say this if I didn't know this. I know of at the very least 3 of personal friends of mine that have told me this, that work in hospitals, of at least 3 different employees that have been fired for saying that their hospital was empty or that it was slow. And they've been fired for that, not reprimanded, fired for that. And that tells me that there's a CEO of a hospital that got a phone call, and that phone call gave him a boner because he felt like, oh, the president's called me. Oh, I get to be patriotic now. And he was told a secret, right? He said, hey, look, blah, blah, blah is coming. And that turns on the narcissist in him, where I have secret knowledge that no one else has, right? This is how the black magic sets in, right? Here's a secret. You can't tell anybody, and it's for the greater good. So keeping
national security.
Yeah, keeping the secret will make you a god, basically. You will be saving lives by keeping this secret, and reprimand anyone who tries to hide this secret. Okay, so there's a clue there, guys. There's a clue that these people have been fired. There's some information in there. Now, some of you like to think, well, it's because everyone's evil and they're just going to do evil things. But that's not a wise way to look at it, because all of those people.
Thank you.
All of those people are going to be making decisions that they think are morally sound and good, which means this CEO thinks he's helping the country. He's not trying to kill people. He's been told something, and he's keeping it a secret because he thinks it's going to save lives. Now, because he's at a hospital, he's been told this, it makes me think that this is why it's going to look like, in addition to an internet attack, it's going to also look like some sort of biological weapon, and that's going to fit with COVID. The rising sun, however you want to say it, it's going to look like something that's. I can't mute you, Ben. So
I'm very sorry, James.
That's okay.
That person that keeps here. There's.
For some reason, I'm not able to mute you. For some reason on Zoom, it just doesn't let me do it. I don't know why. Normally it does, but this time it doesn't. That person at the hospital is keeping something from you because he thinks it's going to help you. And because he's at a hospital, it makes me think it's some sort of viral agent secret. Now, we're hearing leaks out of China. I don't spread leaks out of China because I know they always come from the CIA and FBI. It's always leaked on purpose. And I don't like helping those fuckers. So usually whenever I hear leaked information, I can't even say it because all it's going to do is hurt, I think, for us to know it. It's just, you can't really trust anything like that. But you can use that as clues. And just yesterday, they claimed that some dude was taking a bribe for like $15 million from Harvard in his exchange for claiming something else about the Wuhan thing, about the virus part. And what I see happening is you've got a spider weaving a little web there saying, coronavirus is a bioweapon started in Wuhan, and terrorists got a hold of it and distributed it on the airplanes. Why the airplanes? Because while Trump was grounding all of us, while Trump was saying you're not allowed to leave your house, it never occurred to him to shut down the planes. Not once during this entire pandemic, the global pandemic, not once did we decide maybe we should drop the planes out of the sky like right the fuck now. That never happened. So that shows you that he needed a vehicle to explain something spreading in a biological viral way. That's a clue. Okay, that's a big, big clue. He had to leave that door open so he could blame it. Well, someone left the gate open. He had to leave that open. So I think we're looking at a terrorist attack from China. Involves the internet and involves a psyop of a viral nature. And what I think is really happening is the government shutting off the internet, and they're firing up the Paradise cannons. Because you're right, Ben, I'd forgotten all about those. That's how clueless I'm over here. We didn't even see that. But in Paradise, California, that was some fucked up weaponry there. And that's definitely shows the power of that tech. I had actually just forgotten all about that. It makes me wonder if there's some kind of combination, smart meter / if you could put enough voltage down the existing power lines to where they just completely overwhelmed, like skip the spark gap, in all the relays and any kind of electronic device, basically.
Well,
maybe if be overridden with just pure raw power.
Well, if you were going to do that, so the way to draw the most amperage is to have the most voltage, is the way electricity works. If you want to draw a whole bunch of power, you need a whole bunch of void. So the voltage is the feminine, or the riverbed. And so if you want to suddenly be able to draw more amperage, you're going to have to bump up your voltage also. Unless you're inverting it, but then that's an entirely different story. For all practical purposes, so if that somehow creates a void, if I wanted to have maximum power, I wouldn't be just pushing. I would be suctioning from one end and pushing from the other.
Yep.
So it could very well be a two-part system where the one is creating the suction, and then at the given time, you hit it with that bump and just bam.
Yep. It's sort of like a quasi transformer in a way, where you're creating the step up by, I'm just throwing this out, guys. This isn't it, but I'm just saying, if you could like ramp down someone's house through their smart meter, but then ramp up the juice that was coming in, it's going to create that. I don't know, guys. I seriously, I don't know. But if you look at the photos, it was only the houses that were toasted. It was only the cars that were toasted. It wasn't the trees. It wasn't anything organic.
Not the bushes, not the fences.
Yeah.
It managed to jump. If you look at an aerial view of it, it's like spot, 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 spot. And then last spring, they came up and they had the fire chiefs all go around to all the town halls and explain to us this new thing, that's apparently never happened in history, especially in this kind of quantity, where the sparks suck up into our eaves and then the fire starts from the inside of the house.
Yeah.
So they went around and had everybody got that talk this last spring. Every small town in California, they had the fire chiefs run around and spiel out this story in order to backtrack, explain, because that's what everybody noticed. They said, well, in a forest fire or uncontrolled fire, everything's supposed to basically burn. And sure, there are always going to be pockets of things that happen just because of the way the wind flowed or whatever other oddness that happens, because nature's just like that. It's also not going to pick spot.
Yeah.
That's also impossible.
Yeah. Well, one thing we know is that all things synthetic, all things that are built, are going to have probably the same kind of menu of material in them. We're going to make things out of metal. We're going to make a lot of things out of metal. We're going to make a lot of things out of wood. We're going to make a lot of things out of the same kind of paint. We're going to make a lot of things out of the same kind of glass. So maybe it's something where they're able to trigger or melt some sort of element that everyone has there. I wish we knew more. I think what needs to happen is that people that are much smarter than me need to start looking into the EMF radiation around their house and just start playing with that. Start trying to figure that out. I want to do the same thing too. I have the advantage of, because we're so remote, I don't even think that we offer smart meters yet. Like we're just so far behind out here, being in Southern Appalachia, that we're still at dumb meters, which is awesome. I would imagine.
Well, one simple test that I personally, and this was an accident. So I live off grid, and we have a real bad bug problem here in Northern California, and at certain times of the year. Well, I grow permaculture and grow completely organically. So I'm not trying to use all kinds of pesticides and things like that. So in the winter, I will take and incubate chickens. That way they're big enough come springtime that they're already large enough to run around and chew up bugs and take care of these problems for me. So because I live off grid also, I have limited plugins. Well, I took the one incubator and it's on one side of the house, and just because of how many plugins I have available, the other incubator was on the other side of the house. And at the time I had satellite Wi-Fi. The incubator that was next to the Wi-Fi, I had 3 chicks hatch out of 48, and 2 out of those 3 were so horribly deformed that they died almost within a day or two. The one had scissor beak really bad, and the other one of his legs was basically sticking backwards. The other incubator, I had about 42, 43 hatchings. You always get a couple duds, and the majority of those were just fine. Well, so I went out to my chicken coop and just gathered up a whole pile of eggs, and I've got like 50 different kinds of chickens and turkeys and guineas, and I just grabbed random eggs, went and stuck them in the incubators and flipped them around to try and see if this would happen again. Incubated them out. The one next to the Wi-Fi box, same thing. Only had 3 chickens hatch out. 2 out of the 3 died immediately. And actually, I think 3 out of the 3 died right after that on the second run. Wow. And the incubator away from the Wi-Fi box, just fine. Which is why I have to drive into town for all these things, because I will not have Wi-Fi at my house. So, right. and this is just a personal at-home, very low Wi-Fi. What kind of radiation are we getting off of some of these other much more high-powered devices?
Yep. That's satellite internet. You had like a dish, I guess. And you're pulling in that way, and then you had a phone line too, right? So for
no, I never had a phone line, just a dish, and then the dish feeds like your cable, your round cable, the coax, and then that goes into this little box, and that's what gave me my Wi-Fi. And that was
how you sent. Do you know how you sent? Because satellite's only reception, right? You're only receiving the internet, so you had to send. If you were to send a request,
I think it somehow sends also.
Oh, okay. Well, that shows you how far behind it is here. Yeah, that just shows you how far behind it is here, in the South, because it's like here is like, what? No, man, you want to send, you're going to need a phone line. That's what you're going to need. So, okay.
Yeah, this is a very limited thing, and it's not good either, because I'm also out in the mountains.
Right.
And there was no such a thing as like streaming a movie with it, and it had data caps and all the like 1990 features that you expected out of AOL or something.
Gotcha.
But still threw off enough signal to disrupt. And for me, that was the canary in the mine.
Yep. Hey, was that also a Wi-Fi router? Was that like your home Wi-Fi router?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
So it's like 2.4 gigahertz probably for the Wi-Fi part. And then the dish was probably outside somewhere, right?
Yep. Yep. The dish was outside.
Okay. So you think that was more Wi-Fi related or satellite related, or do you know?
I don't know, but what I do know is no matter how we look at it, all that was a radiation.
Yeah.
Like even when people try to say crystals are woo-woo and fake, everything on the planet gives off a radiation. Yeah. And when we're creating a stronger radiation in order to override those radiations, because that's what we're doing. Like when we take a radio signal, they understand that there's already signals and radiations on the planet. So in order to take away the white noise of those other signals, they jack their signal up way above our signals. So any natural radiation that's happening is just getting drowned out by this overwhelmingly heavy signal that's made to drown it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what they say, the Earth itself vibrates at like 8 gigahertz or something like that, or 8 hertz.
Yeah, 7.83, I think. I mean, I'm not
Yep.
trying to show off. I just happen to remember that
Yeah,
number.
no, I greatly appreciate it, brother. That's so we're talking about just hertz, not gigahertz.
Yep.
Just single hertz. And now this signal that we're blasting out, so it's basically like Mother Earth. And something over here with a loudspeaker, you'll never know what's going on with the Earth. Well, so I guess it doesn't, the whole point to that is I'm not sure whether it's the satellite or the Wi-Fi, but whatever it is, it's a toxic radiation that a simple bird and an egg is a much more delicate thing than what James or I. And so when this is the whole canary in the mine, the reason miners carried a canary in a cage down into the mine was that canary was much more susceptible and is going to die very easily. Yep. So if that thing dies, you need to turn around and make a beeline, because eventually you're also going to die.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's just a matter of, you want to pick something that's going to die first. And then that's basically how you find out. Poor canaries. That's a shitty job.
It really is. That's a thankless job right there.
I just got into doing video a few months ago. And so I bought a camera, a Canon M50, a pretty inexpensive, run-of-the-mill camera that you'd buy, and it comes with a Wi-Fi, built-in Wi-Fi. And I took it home, and I had the mic hooked up, and I was practicing with it. And every recording I make was bam, 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 bam. And I was like, oh, the fuck's mic's broke. And so, took off the mic, and I tried a different mic, and I kept trying all these things, but no matter what it was, I heard this bam, 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 bam. It's a Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi of the camera.
The hertz on the Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah. The microphone was picking it up. So I go online, and I'm like, this is really interesting. I've got this camera that picks it up, and people are saying, well, no, the microphone's just broke because it's not able to drown that out. And my answer is like, well, is it? Actually, the mic's working great. it's showing you,
right.
Actually, the mic is telling you, hey guys, I'm picking up this really annoying signal, and this is what it sounds like. And what we're doing is trying to find a way to find a mic that will ignore that signal. In fact, the fix for it was, well, no, it's no problem. You just got to Faraday it. You got to wrap tinfoil around the mic. And the whole time as I'm reading that, I'm like, well, that's cool, but what about me? What about everything else?
I'm soaking in that signal still.
All of us are. My dogs, my plants, my food, everything is soaking in that signal. And we don't know it. And in fact, companies are actively creating technology to mask that signal so it doesn't annoy us. So we don't pick it up in our microphones. So we're not aware of it. And it's no one's talking about that. While we were discussing how dangerous bump stocks were for guns, like while we were pretending to debate whether or not we should have bump stocks, we've weaponized a corporation that none of us get to vote for, none of us get to pick, none of us get to appeal to set up EMF lethal devices, weaponized EMF that's going to go all across the country in a grid. And that's got to be the end game.
And what's really interesting about that, James? What kind of paint just prior to this revolution was always used and is now made completely illegal everywhere?
Holy shit. This is one of the many reasons why I had you on. Yep. Lead paint. They outlawed lead paint.
Which soaks in EMF.
Yep. It also protects you. You've got your own Faraday cage just by painting your house, right?
Absolutely.
And now that's gone. That's gone now. Wow.
And that's in our lifetimes, which also in our lifetimes is when we started using all of this signal so heavily.
The one thing the government was doing that we grew up where I thought they were actually trying to help us And they're like, no, dude, no, we're totally not trying to help you. You do not get it. You're so naive.
You betcha.
Yeah.
You've been protecting and shielding your house, and now you cannot. Like, how many kids ate paint chips? Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
That I've never seen a kid eat paint chips.
We are
I mean,
so naive. We are so naive. This is part of why they hate us so much too, to be fair. I mean, we're just so naive. They're gutting us like with a fish knife. And we're still
Yes.
like, I fucking love you, man. It's like no, I love you. No, man, I really, really love you.
Yes.
Over and
Yes.
over.
It's amazing that it's that syndrome where you fall in love with your captor and you'll do anything to help them.
That's
And
right.
it's amazing that we have that to such an extent that we're actively seeing martial law be employed, where people are being told, nope, we decided your job isn't important and you don't get to make a living.
Yep.
You don't get to provide for your family. They aren't even just saying, you can't do a little thing. You cannot provide your basic needs because we said so. How amazing. And people are taking it like, I'm seeing some of these same people who are talking about going broke and going to lose their home also screaming for the government to do more.
Mm-hmm.
This is an amazing, amazing thing.
Yep.
So this brings us to what do we do about it?
Yeah, man. Yep.
And for me, all of this is magical. And for you also, I know this. So we need to start understanding the playbook that they're playing out of.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, we need to understand the timing and why they're doing things. Because the whole reason that they do things at the certain times that they do is because that's when the time clock says to do this. This is no different than kings in ancient times where they're talking about they went and saw their soothsayer or their star reader and decided, am I going to go to war today? Mm-hmm. This is the exact same thing. So we need to also be playing out of that same playbook. Yep. When we're playing out of a different one, which is something they convinced us to do the whole time, we can't ever match them. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we got to do is we got to simplify that. And we use that using the rule of correspondence, which is most people understand is as above, so below. So when we're looking at our day, throughout the day, when we get up in the morning, right when the sun cracks the horizon, and our day starts for all practical purposes, the light is orange. It's a very orange shaded light. This is a mix of masculine and feminine. So then you move on, and as you go throughout the day, the sun takes on a blue hue. And now for anybody that does sun gazing, they know that it's recommended to view it early in the morning, late in the evening when it's at this orange hue. So in the middle of the day, it takes on a blue hue. And this blue hue is your high masculine, your push. This is a harsh sun. And then we move on into our evening. So our evening is going to be a mix of masculine and feminine again. This is where the feminine comes back. And this is your fruiting hours. And where everybody's going to sit around, you have supper, you enjoy your labors of the day, you talk to your family. Again, like I said, the sun's a nice orange light. Then you move on to the night where your light's coming from the moon. It has no amperage. So I live off grid off of solar panels. During the daylight, my solar panels have both amperage and voltage. At night, the voltage side will light up, but there is 0 amps. And I'll have enough voltage to actually run the system. The riverbed's wide open, but there's no power coming down it. So this is your nightlight. Now, we move that up to the yearly cycle. Your spring, your light is orange. We have a mix of masculine and feminine. Then we move on to the summer, your light turns blue. It becomes a very harsh light, and everything's high masculine. You move into fall, you get the mix of masculine and feminine again. Now this is where you're getting all your fruiting and all of those things. And then you move into your winter dead light, where you don't have life, where everything kind of dies off and you lose that masculine force, the amperage. Now we have something called the great cycle then above that. So in the great cycle, we can see all of these same events take place. Now in the spring light, we understand that that's when you go and you plant things. You don't really expect to have much. That's when you're going out and you're doing your dense earthy work. Then in the summer, all the work from that spring is going to just kind of grow along, and you're not going to see drastic changes. You've planted your plants, your corn's getting taller, your wheat's getting taller, but for all practical purposes, when you go out there in the summer, there's very little daily change, unlike in the spring where you have that chaotic mix. Now when we moved on to the fall, that's where we're getting our fruiting and our harvesting, and where we're actually taking these things. In the winter, we have destruction. That's where your garden comes apart. You chop and drop all your plants in the end of fall, let all that mineral go soak back into the ground and get ready for the explosion of energy in the spring. Because winter is a high negative, the high feminine, and spring is when the masculine returns, the return of the king, the reforging of the sword. So we have to match these same concepts in the cycle. So we start looking at the cycle, and we understand that this world right now is being controlled by Roman cosmology. So we start matching things up into the Roman cosmology. Now, when Rome during their creation story, their mythologies, when Uranus was the sky god, this would be high ether, a feminine figure. It's the sky god. This is the high etheric, or winter. He mated with Gaia, and from Gaia produced the Titans. Now we've already set a precedence here. The Sky Father, or the high ether, has produced dense salt beings. So on the one side we have oil beings, and on the other side we have salt beings, a dense masculine being. The Sky Father becomes afraid that the salt beings are going to overtake his power. See, he uses his essence, which is aluminum, in order to bind the Titans, and then he locks them in Tartarus, which is also behind special metals. The gate being a bronze type alloy, similar to like Vulcan's net, which in Roman mythology, which a lot of people don't realize that in those mythologies, these are almost all alchemical equations. Like with Vulcan's net, it's Venus got caught cheating with Mars, and Vulcan is Venus's husband, comes in all angry and traps them in a net up into the corner of the room. Well, what it is Vulcan is white fire that's hot enough to change the iron of Mars in order to accept the pieces of Venus, and it creates a new alloy that actually makes a purplish net that's got geometric shapes in it. And my opinion is that this then will hold etheric beings, or hold vibrations similar to like lead, only on the extreme. So I think that's going to at some point be useful information for when we're trying to deal with this. But
so not to extrapolate too much, but you're talking about almost like an EMF demon pit, right? Like a cauldron made out of EMF, right? That would hold pranic energy, basically your conscious.
Correct.
Wow.
Because when we're talking about etheric beings, what we're talking about is beings vibrating so fast that they don't have a material body. They are literally just EMF.
Well, I want to remind people that this is going to be hard for some people to accept, but I need you to understand that your eyes are capable of seeing like 200 frames a second. Like if you could pretend like your eyes are a camera a second, you actually can see like 200 frames a second. That's what they can process. But your brain can only process the signals at most 60 frames per second. They say there's some airline pilots out there that are way up there, like at 90 frames per second. Like they're really, their eyes are really, really well tuned. The point is that at least 2 out of every 5 frames, you're never going to process. Your brain is not going to have enough speed to process.
Your conscious mind.
Yes, your conscious mind. Thank you for clarifying. Your conscious mind is not going to be able to process things, even though your eyesight does. Okay, guys, that's a really important clue that you're not seeing everything. Okay, not only do we only see a very, very minute form of the electromagnetic spectrum, as much as like what, 0.03 or something, but in addition to that, we're not even able to consciously catch all of the data inside that spectrum too. There's a lot that we just don't see. Now, I need to add one more blunt to this, which is that your retinas are the source of dopamine. Most of your dopamine is actually being generated inside the cavity of your eyeball. That's where you're receiving signal, which should tell you a clue that because you can't see every frame and because it's stimulated by dopamine. Keep in mind, when you have memories of sight, what you're really doing is that you're triggering the exact same rods and cones inside your eye, which calls up the dopamine, which allows you to recall the memory of what you saw, which should tell you guys something. We are only going to see what we are chemically comfortable with seeing. When you start to see things that are so atrocious, so terrifying, so unacceptable, the mind will do what a creature does. When a mouse has been nabbed by a hawk, the mouse doesn't go into, oh, I'm going to fight you, how dare you? No, the mouse goes into, I'm going to release as much heroin into my system as I can and just relax. Like, it's just, this is too much for me. I'm shutting the fuck down. And guys, this is what you do too. All of us do this. And I'm here to tell you.
This is literally the picture of the baby deer hanging in the lion's mouth, still alive. And you're like, why is it just hanging there and not kicking?
And I tell you, that
this
deer
is literally
is feeling fine. That deer is feeling fine. I know that sounds terrible, but the deer is fine. Chemically, it's in a pretty good state right now. It's okay. And you've been trained to do that. Your grandfather has been trained to do that. Your grandmother has been trained to do that. Your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather has been trained to do that with trauma programming for a very, very long time. These are leashes, okay? You have leashes on you, but they're chemical. They're chemical leashes. And I need you to understand that your mind is like a tumbler. If you're going to find a memory, it's not as simple as rationally recalling it. You have to call it up through your body. There's a certain signature to it. You're turning tumblers in your mind, these receptor tumblers. And if you trigger the tumblers just right, a door's going to open in you and something's going to come out of that. A somatic experience can erupt from that. I can prove it. You'll start crying. You'll be thinking of an old memory and you'll just start crying. Or you'll start laughing. Or you'll feel a pain in your stomach. Regret, guilt, shame, whatever. We are somatic recall agents, okay? All of our memories are built somatically. Just as the earth has crystals that store the memories of the earth, our organs have crystals, but they're salt, and these store the memory of us. This is more Ben's category or topic, but it's just, I need you to understand that everything that you do, think, see, touch, feel, and recall is an emotional. It's emotion. It's not intellect. Intellect is scaffolding. Emotion is the real world. You are living in an emotive, empathic, telepathic world. Everything is happening through emotion. And there are people that know how to hide from you simply by being fucking terrifying. I know that sounds weird, but I want you to start to read more into crystal meth patients. I want you to read more into deep trauma victims, schizophrenics. Um, a lot of severe autism even has this. You're seeing people that we're claiming are hallucinating. But a hallucination, if you look up the definition of hallucination is more like green frog, banjo, wig, Captain Kangaroo, fence post. It's a bunch of just mismatch of just crap. Okay, these people aren't having hallucinations; they're seeing shadow figures, and they're writing them down. And every fucking person is writing down the same figure. They have characteristics. In fact, if you look at my interviews with Jerry Marzinski, he will back this shit up. He's telling you these stories where you've got multiple people that are having the same hallucination. That's not a hallucination. Okay? What we call it a hallucination, why? Because we are emotional beings and we're not willing to accept that there's fucking shadow people there. In fact, we're not willing to accept it so much that we will shellac the trauma that other people have. We will dip their trauma in shellac so it freezes. We will keep them in a separate building because we want to deny what it is they all see. We want to stay as far away from them as we possibly can because we cannot cope with the fact that there are things around us that we cannot process and we cannot see. And this is not because you don't have the intellect. It's because you don't have the emotional throttle in you anymore. We don't have that deep of a clutch anymore to go into that kind of a gear in our adrenaline to go, did you just see a giant fucking floating spider shadow creature dude with red eyes? And you're gonna be like, no, I didn't see that at all. I did not see that at all. I'm going to put you in a building now. And I don't know what we're seeing, guys. I will be the first to admit, I don't see shit. I believe in magic because of what's happening in our world. Okay, I process it like a technical technician. All right. If you look at all my work, it's all decoding by technician stuff. I'm just a technician of it. I'm just noticing the flow, and I know what a transistor is in magic. I know that I can trigger a lot of reaction in an NPN transistor by doing a listening and sending a separate signal based off a cue. These are all just standard electronics. All of this is just basic crystal work. I'm talking about like real live electronic crystal stuff. So I'm a very much a neophyte in all this stuff, and I won't go certain places because I'm aware of my own adrenals, and I know what it is I'm capable of seeing and what it is I'm like, I don't want to even see that. And because I'm honest with myself, I'm willing to admit that there are things that I'm just not comfortable seeing. And that's why I don't see things flying through the sky. That's why I don't see black shadow figures. Because I think the first time I did see one, the first time I saw a black shadow figure like right beside me when I was really young, my brain was like, I don't have the calories for that. You need to stop that shit right now because I cannot process this. Look, I can poop. That's a lot, man. Let's just poop and eat. Let's just focus on that for now. And all of you do that. All of us do that. Anyway, got anything on that, Ben?
So back to where you were talking about what your brain is capable of picking up consciously.
Wait.
Treatment.
Hang on.
Did I not unmute? Is that better?
Yeah, I think it was the cutout. The connection might be getting bad. Try it again.
So anybody that's been through drug treatment, one of the things that they're going to teach you is that they did tests on people, and they flashed thousands of images in front of their faces, so fast that you could not possibly consciously recognize what basically any of these images were. And they hooked electrodes up to people's brains. When it would hit the drug of choice, it would send a spark in the brain, and the person never even saw it, not consciously, did not even recognize that, but their brain reacted to it. That subconscious portion of it said, oh, hey, I know that stuff. I like it.
Mm.
So your brain is picking up so much more than you truly understand. You're like James is saying, there's a million things going on in the world that your brain is just skipping, and it's only processing a very minute portion of that. Now, I love where you went with the emotion, because most people don't realize, because in today's world, everybody wants to think of women as being the more emotional beings.
Mm.
And women are actually, men have mastery of their emotions down better than women do. So we don't display as chaotic of an emotion. Now, on the flip side, the thought, your thinking thought, your chaotic part, your ether, that is very feminine. So on the flip side, like James was just explaining, and this applies to men more heavily than women, men are like, I'm going to poop today, and then I'm going to make fire and sit in cave. I do that tomorrow too. And women are like, well, the cave looks the same as it did yesterday. I'm going to rearrange the cave and while he's out making the fire, and he's going to come back in and be pissed off just because the cave has been rearranged. And his stable masculine brain said, this is all different. I don't like it. And her chaotic thought brain loved it. Like, oh, well, this is going to work better over here. Like Christy, she reorganizes things every other week. And then every time I go in to go find something and can't find it, she looks at me like I'm nuts and is like, well, it's right over here in with this, and explains this system that she has of organization. And 2 weeks ago, I know that damn oven mitt was right here, and I go back to look for it, and now I'm pissed.
This is how I secretly ruin his life.
So we have a very chaotic thought in women and very dense emotion in men. Now, thought is where you're getting your direction from. That is, again, the riverbed. So the way that we're supposed to be working is we have a smart thought. The engineer is the thought. Here's your house. Here's your project. Now what I need is the masculine emotional power to put into that. And this is how magic works. You set up all the pieces, and then you put your masculine salt power into it.
I like that riverbed thing a lot. You're saying the thoughts, the riverbed, then I guess your emotions, you're going to flow
Is
right.
the river.
Passion. Yep, your passion. So that's beautiful. Speaking of that, I'd like to suggest something for what's happening all around us right now. What I mean by that is that all of you are going to have to go into a store or a restaurant or something. Well, actually, Ben probably doesn't, but a lot of you guys are going to have to go somewhere, and you're going to have to interact with the public. And when you're going to go in there, you're being met with a very, very strong, dark, black magic. In fact, as soon as you open the door, there's a sign on the door that says social distancing. You know, do your part to social distance. Everyone needs to stand this far back. Everyone needs to do that. Because your body is an electromagnetic device, what they're doing is they're pulling you away from your ability to empathically connect with someone as well around you. And if they're able to maintain that shell around you long enough, your ego, remember, ego is a good word, your ego, whatever you want to call this, your field is going to diminish. Most of us, it's going to diminish a little bit. It's going to be weaker. Actually, I would say all of us, because we need connection. We are alive through connection. All right. So this is a direct attack on your ability to connect with everyone else. Now, they have to do that because there's a big concern. If you are socially distancing yourself from another human, from all humans, if you think that humans are the source of a virus, that they are here to endanger you, you will be much more likely to begin to trust the government over a human. And that's very, very crucial, going back to what I was talking about earlier. All of these things are steps, guys. This is not me being a doom fairy or a doom fag. This is me just telling you, guys, just look at the freaking steps. Look at all the steps that are in place. They've already set up a situation where when the hammer drops, they're going to want you to trust the government instead of the people. And that's why I'm so convinced that the internet's going to go down during this. Because the internet would be the most dangerous thing that they could possibly leave on during this crisis. Additionally, if they're wiping out an entire county, they're not going to want anybody in that county to be able to leave and tell everyone else, hey man, this is what they're doing in my county. And that explains these roadblocks. They're also going to want to have it where it looks like the government was on top of it and was ready to help. And that's why we have all these empty tents that are just ready to go. So I'm telling you guys straight up, it's fucking go time, man. It is go time right now. And I need all of you guys, all you men. No one's going to give you permission to be a man. You're going to have to draw your sword, man. You're going to have to pull the sword out of the stone. And the second you fucking do that, not one woman around you is going to give you shit for being toxically masculine. It's not going to happen. If anything, she's going to empower you more, because that's what we need right now. We need that stuff. We have to combat this magic. Now, you can combat it with your own magic and pretend like, well, I'll just send love and light, but you're going to get fucking stepped on hard. You're going to get fucking crushed if you try that shit. All right. Now, some of you guys are going to do it. You're going to have some success and go for it. But I'm talking about real live electrical magic here. You're going to have to dump some amps. You're going to have to lose some calories over this. You're going to have to do things that are harder to do that you would normally do. Now, I believe in spellcraft. I believe in that's why I'm a writer. I believe in the power of my vocal cords, the two towers in your throat. And that's why I came up with humanity is not a virus. You guys can come up with whatever you want. In fact, I'm surprised how many people have argued with me over the phrase humanity is not a virus. It's pretty amazing. But that is a very, very powerful mantra, because it explains very clearly humanity is under attack and humanity is not a virus. It's a mantra that you can set against the tide of everything that's coming. Now, if you want to put a sticker on your car, that's a living sigil, a protection sigil now that's on your car. You're now broadcasting this little beacon of power. And what's amazing about it is, check this out. Because of all the black magic, that's what makes this spell so powerful. It's because of the black magic that makes it powerful. That's why the words have to say virus in there. I can't make it say, I do not consent. No one's going to know what the fuck you're talking about. But if they see it that says humanity is not a virus, they understand exactly how you feel. They understand the emotion inside the spell. That emotion is what's going to save you, because humanity is emotional. Machines are not emotional. So this requires emotional magic, guys. Emotional magic is going to suck all the prana out of all the bad shit they're doing, and it's going to help. Now, if you're a renegade, I recommend printing out stickers that say humanity is not a virus and placing those stickers on the sign that says social distancing. That is a very, very powerful spell. You're not tearing their sign down. You're not destroying their magic. Okay? You're taking their magic and you're building on top of it. You're saying, okay, that's what the entire world's saying, and here's my response to that. That's a magic that's so powerful that it penetrates time and space, even though you're not there anymore. Okay? You left that sticker on the grocery store. You left that sticker at the pharmacy. That magic spell is still there, throttling. It's finding hope in other humans, and that prana is automatically going to come back to you when they see it. You're sending them prana. They're feeling that. They're feeling the humanity. It's going to make them smile. They're going to go, oh my God. Someone like really went out of their way to print up stickers and to put it right here. It says humanity's not a virus. On top of that, you're making it expensive for that store, that business, to participate in the black magic ritual. Some of you might be going, well, it's not that expensive. No, it's very expensive. Because anyone who sees that now understands these people are in on it. The people that put up this sign are in on it. That's how you make lies expensive. That's how you make black magic expensive. It's the only way I can think of that you can really, really start to send out your human energy into this and make a dent. You're going to be carving out a riverbed, I think, all around wherever you go. And this is going to allow you, when you come back to the post office 3 days later and that sticker's still there, you're going to be like, holy shit, how many people must have saw this? Or when you come back and the sticker's been removed, you're like, holy shit, someone saw this. They had to freaking remove it. The whole time while they're removing it, the shop owner's probably like, damn, I feel like shit for taking off this sticker that says humanity's not a virus. This is electrical magic through emotions, okay? It's the emotion of this sticker is what makes it magical. And I think what we have to do right now, as fast as possible, is fight this with our own magic, because all this power is up for grabs right now. All the shit they're doing, if you see what they're doing, when you see it, what you're really doing is you're opening a straw, a feed into all that prana, because you recognize it, because you're not denying that they're doing it. You can now tap into all that power and use it against them. And this is just one of those ways. This is just one of those things. Some of you guys are already doing it because you know that it's not contagious. That right there is the same kind of emotional magic. Because when you're walking in the grocery store and you're like, well, I don't think, no, this is all bullshit. You're already sending that out. But you can take that magic and make it last even when you're gone. You can put a sticker on your car. You can put it on a t-shirt. It doesn't have to be that phrase, guys. I'm not trying to say you have to use my phrase, but I'm trying to say you that I've been writing for a while. I've been focused on magic writing for a while. And I'm telling you, this is a good spell. It's going to do some good right now, because the sooner we can get back to work, the quicker the black magic drops. The longer we don't get back to work, the stronger the black magic's going to be. And that's what we have to do right now. We have to reset this whole consent spell. And this is a way to do it. Ben, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I want to jump in with, so this brings us back to our cycle story. So at the end of this, and this is what's tying in with James' timing, the right now. So when Uranus trapped his Titan children, Kronos was one of those children. And Kronos goes up and rips the genitals off of Uranus, which is emasculating him, taking away his masculine power. In my personal heathen cosmology, the Titans are Fenrir and Jormungandr and Hel. And Fenrir, when they bind him with the essence, he bites off Tyr, the phallic god's sword arm, again taking away the masculine power. So while these guys are so heavily attempting to take away our masculine power, what you should draw from that story is they also are going to lose their masculine power. Now, the signifier for this is, again, the binding of the Titan gods. Now, in 2006, was it? Pluto, which is Hades, the Titan god, the dense earth, the dense god, was bound and removed from godhood. And they said Pluto is no longer a god. That is no longer a planet. We can look at that and say that that was the binding of the dense, of the Titan pantheon. So what we also can understand is that the etheric forces attempting to grab onto this power also lost their masculine power, which is part of why they're trying so hard to separate us. Because the tree, one tree in the middle of nowhere is not so strong, but trees, all their roots always intermingle. They say that almost every tree all the trees in the forest even communicate and talk through that same root system. We are no different than a tree. According to heathen cosmology, we are made from trees. This invisible root that we don't understand nor recognize is interconnected with the other human beings around us. And that is part of where we're drawing our power from, and our information, our emotions, our soul. This is when you walk into a room, everybody in the room could have the same thought and you will never notice.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as the emotion of that room changes, everybody in the room knows.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to even be a very slick character to all of a sudden realize, oh crap, everybody's pissed. There's danger. Oh, it's a party now. Oh, it's all these mood shifts in crowds are extraordinarily easy to feel.
Totally, man.
So we're at this portion of the fight where they need to separate us out, and because they're also losing their dense power. But that is just a piece of the cycle. We're gonna move to an etheric society and be an etheric people, but that is right before the return of the king, the return of the masculine, the reforging of the sword. So in all your ancient stories, you see this same trope. Cycle. So we're getting ready to have our masculine power back in the cycle. They want to have control of that and to have access to that, and they want you not to. It's a fairly simple equation, and it's one that is followed through every cosmology that you could possibly. So they aren't even coming up with these plans. You that play work.
Yep. Ben, you're breaking up a little bit. I think we got all that, but the internet was just breaking up a little bit. But I want to build on what you're saying, and I'm hoping the internet's gonna improve too. They are utilizing the power of 19 right now. 19 is the sun card in Tarot, and it is part of what they're in order to utilize the 19, the sun, they have to resonate 19. Now, this will be the 19th anniversary of 9/11. That's a big clue. This is part of why I'm like, this is really the time to drop the hammer for them. Like this, if they're going to drop something, if they're going to drop a building, it can't be one building. It can't be two. It can't be three. It's going to have to be 2 countries. It's going to have to be 2 states. Like you might even look at China. You might look at America as World Trade Center 1 and China as World Trade Center 2 and Venezuela as Building 7. Because you have to have this third sacrifice, which is something that Ben has reminded me of, that I'm so thankful he brought that up. You need that third sacrifice to go down. What did Trump do the moment the COVID virus came out? He put a $15 million hit on the head of President Maduro of Venezuela. He came out in broad daylight and said, hey, I will give anyone $15 million if you kill the president of Venezuela. Now, if you're not aware of how much lying the MSM does, the fact that not one Democrat had a beef with him doing that shows you how much bullshit politics is completely across the board. All right? We've been holding this country hostage for a long time. They were the last country to fall. Some of you guys are going to argue and claim North Korea isn't part of the World Bank, but you don't understand. It doesn't work that way. They are part of this already. That's why Trump had those ceremonies with him. Iran has already fallen. I know they fell because Iran is in on the COVID hoax. They're telling you that they had to dig so many graves you can see them from space. Okay? Iran wouldn't do that unless they were already in cahoots. All right? So just as Ben's explained before, you got to have a sacrifice, a middle tower that goes down. And that middle tower is Venezuela. And if you want something big to happen, you have to resonate 19 times larger than the World Trade Center, 19 years later than the World Trade Center. You have to build off 19s. All right? And that's why I'm kind of worried right now. That's why I'm thinking this is a little bit bigger than it should. I'm sticking my ass out, kind of going, hey, I'm predicting some pretty bad things. And if I'm wrong, you guys need to hold me accountable. You need to tease me for the rest of my life. You need to put my poster up as a bad check writer on the wall of Sears saying James got me all scared about this shit and nothing happened. I expect that. It's part of my magic is that I'm willing to lose that much reputation if I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. This spell is already happening. It's already gone down. If you caught Ben and I's interview with Jimmy Brent, we explained how this ties into the third temple. I'd almost rather not even get into the third temple part of it because there's so much other things I want to cover that more have to do with your magic, with your practical magic, with you yourself personally, putting stickers up, thinking these things about the virus, understanding Dr. Coffin's take on it. This is real powerful magic that you can have right now. Ben, did you want to get in? Because I was going to go on about 19, but if you got something, go ahead.
Touch on that with you for a second. Again, just like the point making with the cycle, when you're looking at the cycle, winter is ice. So as that's your 0 point. The feminine is always your start point, is ice. As the cycle goes, we move from ice to fire. The corona or the sun is your high ether. So again, they're always just telling you we are moving into a high ether. We're in the high etheric. Now, let's look at 19. When we take and use vortex math with 19, what does 19 equal? 0. So 0 is again the feminine, the void, the negative that's supposed to be pulling in and getting ready to set for the next cycle, which is exactly at the point that we're in. So either I go out and plant my field, or else other things will go out and plant my field. If I want to determine what I'm growing at the end, I need to be the one planting it.
Fuck yeah, because something's going to grow anyway, right? Something's going to grow anyway. Either you can plant the seed or someone else is going to plant the seed. Yep, you're so right. The 19. Okay, if you didn't read my book, Technology of Belief, it's okay. But I need you to understand that in my framework, all of magic is simply based on jacking into your belief. If you believe something really strong, you're able to adrenalize your will in such a way where you're going to get a result. It's based off belief. Now, you can believe in something, but if time and space are also giving you feedback by believing in a certain thing or a number or a date or a place, if you can find any kind of significance around you that has to do with this same number, that you're building resonance. And that resonance is something that your belief is able to jack into. For example, if 19 years ago, this is going to sound gross, but just hear me out. If 19 years ago, Trump put Rockefeller put his seed in the dirt, his semen in the dirt, and he covered that dirt up, and maybe he had like a live sacrifice, blood sacrifice. Okay, he made like light bread. It doesn't matter. My point is that if he did a ritual 19 years ago, he has 19 years where he gets to build up the parthenia, build up the prana around that number, around that event, around that place. And that's going to allow him to jack his belief. He's sacrificing 19 years of something that he had saved for a moment, okay? The reason why that's powerful for him is all because of his belief. It's all because of that. So if not only did he sacrifice that, but that girl was 19 years old who gave her blood. If he jacked himself 19 times, the point is that whatever's going to jack up your resonance the most is going to be what's going to cause the most magic. And this is why I'm telling you guys about 19, because there's free energy all around 19 right now. You're not going to be able to tap into 19 by yourself and get the same amount of power as you could if you tapped into 19 right now. Why? Because you're seeing all the black magic around you surrounding the number 19. It's drawing its own evil from there. Because of your belief, you can siphon that prana, take it away from them, and use it directly to harm what they're trying to do to you. And you can do that by resonating your own 19. I'm not here to tell you exactly how to do that. That's part of your magic. That's part of how you work this. You come up with this yourself. You're going to come up with something super creative that I never considered. That's what makes it magic. Why? Because it's jacking your belief. Because it's showing you your belief. Why would Tesla walk around a building 3 times before going in? Why would he do that every single day? Why would he repeat a pattern of 6 or 9, depending on what it is he was getting ready to do? The amount of power that guy had, I think, came from his own sense of magic, his own somatic connection to the earth, and his own resonance. He understood which numbers would resonate, and he was able to jack his belief into it. When you have science that backs you up, when you have science that's telling you, yeah, it's carbon is the atom with 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. If you're seeing all these symbolism around 666, you're going to be able to jack your power into 666, but as long as you're only following the rituals. This is why Jared Kushner paid 666, $1.8 billion for 666 Fifth Avenue. That's resonance. He bought that from David Rockefeller, the Star of David, the 6-pointed Rockefeller. Okay, it's 6 selling 6 on 6, isn't it? 666. Kushner is able to jack into that belief. Anyone who follows Kushner is able to jack in to that number and that belief. They can't lock that number up. It has to be out in the open. If it's not out in the open, the resonance doesn't count. This is why they have to show you what they're doing. This is why they're showing you COVID-19. This is why it's the sun card. Behold the pale horse. That expression, most of us think comes from the Revelations and is about the apocalypse. In fact, most of us think that the pale horse is death. This is how black the magic is, that they've turned the white horse into death. But in Native American folklore, the white horse is truth. It's the high noon. It's the shining male. It's truth in the light of day. What is an apocalypse, guys, but a truth in the light of day? Go ahead, Ben.
Can I jump in 1 second on that?
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually go into ancient Greek and you learn how to read some ancient Greek, the horse, the pale horse, is not even from Christian cosmology at all.
Yeah.
That horse is actually a green horse. So the horse in the Christian cosmology is a green. There is no pale horse. The green is the color of gangrene or death, rotten flesh. So the only actual pale horse would be from native cosmology. It wouldn't even be from Christian cosmology, and they're dragging that one in there, and the word is being displaced because that's actually even a green horse.
And that's how you shit on things. That's how black magic shits on things, okay? They take the most powerful thing that they fear the most and they shit on it. This is what the swastika is, guys. The swastika is a map of Meru. It's the North Star. It's the Big Dipper doing a cycle. And what did they do? They took a big piss on it. They smeared it with diarrhea because they don't want you tapping into that. They wanted it to be expensive for you to tap into, okay? Anything that has shame around it took calories to put that shame around it. You can track these fuckers by watching their calories. You will know exactly where they've been and exactly what their weaknesses is once you start to tap into where they spend all their calories, all right? These guys have spent a lot of money on making pale horse be death. They've taken something beautiful, the apocalypse, the revealing. The word apocalypse means to reveal. It's literally the Great Awakening is the apocalypse. But everybody shit on the word apocalypse. So the land came up with another one. It introduced a meme into your mind called the Great Awakening 20 years ago. And these guys have been worried about it ever since. They've been hitting the snooze button on the Great Awakening, dangling pedophiles, dangling promises of Julian Assange, dangling anything and everything they can because they want it to be a controlled demolition. Do you understand, guys, what the World Trade Center was now? It's controlled demolition. Black magic is the magic of controlled demolition. And all this magic is up for grabs right now because that's how magic works. They have to have it out on the carpet. This is why some local magician tried to set fire to the World Trade Center on St. Valentine's Day. Rockefeller was pissed because he saw another hyena trying to move in on his kill. But Rockefeller couldn't bring down his building yet because he was waiting 19 years. He was waiting for his magic to build because he needed it to be that powerful. That's a vulnerability. We have that vulnerability right now in the number 19. And it's only going to work if each of you understand and see what's happening. Because when you see what's happening, all of your consent is removed completely from the spell. And more importantly, any harm that comes to you is going to be multiplied by 19 against those fuckers. But it's only going to work if you understand what's happening and you don't consent. If you consent to it, all you're doing is giving them more energy. Most of the country loves Trump. As he's killing them, they're still going to love Trump. That shows you how black the magic is, how powerful it's going to be. We are not just competing with Mossad. We are not just competing with Kabbalists. We are not just competing with Trump. We are competing with every person that believes Trump is there to save him. We are competing with every person that votes and gives their consent to what's happening around us. That's why it's going to take a deep, deep, deep magic, man. I need you guys to dig deep, man. It's going to have to take a lot of calories to pull this off.
So if you're understanding why there is so much destruction and why they would be so geared toward destruction, because that kind of, why would you destroy something? Why would the thief burn down the pile instead of just take it for himself? Why go against progress? That does not make normal sense. So you have to take this to alchemy. As an alchemist, if I walk up to a plant, the first thing I do is I appreciate this plant for the beauty that it is. Then the second thing I do as an alchemist is I destroy it. I take and tear it apart piece by piece and turn it into its monoatomic pieces. I burn out the carbon, I burn out the water, burn the whole thing, destroy it utterly. Then from the ashes, I grab out what I want and put that back together. We look at the simple 9/11 story. We had 3 towers, 2 towers that everybody talks about because the third tower is the sacrifice. That's your carbon, water, and earth that you're burning out. Now, the whole point to burning those 2 out is so that, or that one out, is so the 2 primary pillars can become 1 pillar. So what do we have that's supposed to be being built in place of the twin towers? The singular freedom tower. Instead of having 3, because most people don't ever put that third tower in there, not thinking that that was the sacrificial piece that allowed the other 2 to become 1. So there always must be a destruction before you can go and implement what you want. If I walk up to a property and there's already a house sitting there, I can't build the house I want. I've got to burn that house down and then get to a 0 point so I can now put what I want there. So
can I jump in real quick just for a sec?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, because this is perfect time to say this. When you're putting a sticker that says humanity is not a virus on top of a sign that says social distancing, you're scared, you're nervous, and you're like, oh shit, is someone going to catch me? That's you dropping your building. That you are sacrificing that emotion. That is part of your emotion, and that's why the magic is going to work, because you're like, oh god, I hope I don't get caught. Bam, and it's done. Okay, I hope that fits in, Ben. But it's so important.
100%.
In that magic is not Disney, where it's like magic kazoo. No, magic takes fucking calories. Burn them.
It takes study. You've got to know when the proper timing to do the magic is. It takes pain. You've got to have sacrifice, and it takes emotion. You've got to have all of it, or else. And if all you're doing is sitting at home, you're not feeling those emotions. Like James just said, if I run up and I feel like I'm doing something that other people may not want me to do, because that's what the true thing is there. You're like, somebody's going to see me and I'm going to get in trouble because they're going to stop me from doing it. You are enforcing your will, pushing that down. And that is part, like he said, that emotion of that. And so when you do it, slap it on there with confidence. I understand you feel fear, but do it with confidence. Like, this is mine. Like, you're a dog that just pissed on a tree.
Yep.
Like, this is my tree now.
Showing the ether, it's worth it, man. It's fucking worth it. Even if I get in trouble, I want this bad. I want this spell to end. I don't care how much trouble it caused me. I'm willing to fucking go down for it. That's
absolutely magic. That's why when this last year, when the little girl that was telling all the other kids about climate change and they all need to skip school and go out and protest, when they went out and protested, nobody respected that. The schools immediately said, yeah, go ahead, skip school for the day, which makes it not skipping school.
Yep.
The entire point to the protest, if you do not suffer a penalty, there was no sacrifice, you will get no power.
That's really great point, man. You're exactly right. It's so completely opposite of what Disney tells you. And that's exactly why Disney tells you that.
Yep. Exactly. And no story, no matter whether it's magic, no matter whether it's simple farming, where James and I were talking about, if you don't plant the field, somebody else will. So if you don't go out and do the actual work, you're never going to have that field. You won't get what you want just by simply sitting there going, guys, you know what I think would be good? A whole field of lavender. And if you don't go out and put that effort into it and put that work and that salt into the idea, the emotion, it's never going to happen. You can look out there every single day wishing for a lavender field and you're never going to see one. You need to get out and put yourself in there, hang your balls out. And when did we all start feeling like that was a bad thing? Like when I was a kid, every little kid did the dumbest things you could possibly think of. Whether it was, can I ride my bike off the roof of that building and land that shit?
Yeah.
Why? Just to see if I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, get that child. That's part of where you lost your childhood magic. It's not that you didn't become a more powerful being. You gave that part of it up for some reason. That just do it. And we became more etheric as beings. Now we're all about planning and engineering and everything else. We lost the do it part, and we need to get that back.
Yep.
When you're looking at magic, and for myself, it's the runes. The runes start out, Fehu is your most salt dense rune. And then it moves up through 3 different ets, because you have 3 different minds: a salt mind, an ego mind, and an ether mind. As you make your way all the way through that, when you finally get to your highest ether mind or your oil mind, that snake head, the Othala looks just like a snake head. It's an empty diamond. It snaps around and bites that tail that's hanging down from the Fehu. The snake head bites the tail. The high ether opens up the low salt. So now you've got your best ideas and your densest emotions together. And that's where you get power. And it's actually where the 6-pointed Star of David is. If you look at my tree, you will see when the top and the bottom close, the top is a diamond, is a triangle, and the very bottom is a triangle. What that symbol is where the top and the bottom pass each other. You have instant manifestation, because now you have access to your highest ether and your lowest salt. If you aren't trying to do that same thing for yourself, all you're doing is letting them play with guns, and you're out there with a knife.
Yep. Yeah, that's why they mutilate you, because if they can make you run as far away from the mutilation as you can, you're going to stay in your head. You're going to run up to your attic and you're going to stay there. And you're going to think that your entire life can function and runs from the head. In fact, you're going to be rewarded for being rational, and you're going to be punished for using any other kind of emotion below rational. So it's, again, what did I just say earlier? If you look at where they burn calories, you're going to look at where they're hiding power. And they put a lot of fucking calories into keeping you in your head, man. They put a lot of calories into doing that, which should tell you something. It should tell you something deep. And that's why you got to do the opposite. You got to stick your feet back down into your arm legs, man, and put your body back on. You got to put it on like a suit and say, yeah, this is a good cockpit, man. This is a great cockpit to be in, because that's what we need right now. That's what's going to awaken all of us. That's what's going to make this happen. This is actually easier than it looks. All of this is happening because we're letting it. All of this is happening because we're letting it. And each of you has the ability to transmute 1 to 1 million people. Each of you has that ability and potential in you. And each of you is going to have to burn calories to do that. Now, Ben mentioned earlier that you have to know exactly when to do this stuff. And I'm going to tell you guys, don't worry. You don't have to know exactly when. Now's the time to be fucking up. Now's the time to be trying things with your magic and fucking up. What I mean by that is that you're going to go into a store, and because you're still nervous, you're going to put that sticker on, and you're going to get caught, and someone's going to say something to you, and you're going to just be embarrassed, and you're going to leave. It's going to feel like a failure. And that's cool. You've learned a very valuable lesson. You were in the dojo of magic, and you got your ass smacked down. The only reason why you got caught is because you weren't charged enough, or because you didn't pick the right moment, or because you weren't trusting yourself enough. I need you guys to go out and fuck up. I need you to fuck up as quickly as you can, as big as you can. Because every time you fuck up, you're going to have this char, okay? In medieval times, they made char. They would take these logs and put them all in this giant pile, and then cover it with dirt and set it on fire. And that fire would burn for like days and days and days. And because of how big the fire was, the dudes had to stare at it and stay awake and like, I can't go to sleep. It was their entire product was inside of this kiln, and all the hours that they waited were going into this mess. That char, because they put so much sacrifice in it, because they learned after year after year after year, holy shit, I went to sleep and I came back and I ruined it all. They learned really quick how to do that kind of magic. And I need you guys to do that. I need you to learn as quickly as you can. I need you to fuck up as quickly as you can. And I need you to realize that no matter how embarrassed it gets, it's nothing compared to the fucking electric boa constrictor that is going to be unleashed on this land if enough people are too afraid to be embarrassed right now. It is so simple what is stopping us. It is so simple. And the moment someone sees you be courageous, someone else is going to be courageous too. I can prove it. I get emails from people all the time. Holy shit, James, what you said blew me away, blah, blah, blah. It works. It works. This stuff works. There's nothing special about me. If you would have seen me 2 years ago, you'd be like, no fucking way is that dude writing a book. No way is he going to be ever talking to anybody about this stuff. This stuff works. All I'm doing is being a grounding rod. All I'm doing is I'm just focused on the land. The land is talking to me now. That's all that's happening. None of this is James. This is all land. I am pure living soil right now. I don't have to fuck up. All I have to do is stay connected. If I stay connected, my adrenals tell me exactly what to do, when to do it. It tells me what to say. That's why I can never tell you guys, I'm going to be live in an hour and I'm going to talk about this. I have no fucking idea if I'm going to be live in an hour. And when I'm getting live, I have no idea what the fuck's going to come out. I don't know. None of this is rehearsed. If I was to rehearse it, it would be ruined. It would be destroyed. It wouldn't be real. It would be me worrying about, how do I sound cool? How do I sound smart? How do I not say the wrong thing? I'm not afraid of that, because that's my sacrifice. I'm sacrificing my own humility. I'm sacrificing the fact that I could be totally wrong about all this shit. I'm sacrificing any concern I have for anyone that I grew up with, thinking that I'm a fucking loon now because I'm talking about magic and I'm warning people that they're going to die. I don't give a shit. That's how important it is to me. Because I'm looking at our kid's future. I'm looking at someone out there has a kid. And I don't want that kid to grow up and go, what the fuck? Why did those people abandon me? Why did the people that were older than me abandon me to what's happening right now? I want that kid to know James True was fucking fighting for me. Benjamin Balderson was fighting for me. Whatever, I want them to see that because they're going to be able to tap into that magic too. We don't have to defeat this. All we have to do is plant ourselves as seeds. That's all it takes, man. Just drop your magic in the dirt and make it sit. It will grow. We are planting seeds in time and space right now. We are planting buckeyes that are going to erupt and people are going to be able to tap into them. And this whole world's going to change. And all you got to do is resonate right now. That's all you got to do. Just tap into it a little bit. So mess up. Screw up spells. Do things wrong. Misspell things. Say things wrong. And watch, learn, listen. Turn off the music. Let silence in the room be everything that's happening. Let your moment on the couch be the entire world where there's no TV, there's no internet, there's no nothing. It's just you and your breath. It's just you and your breath and the plants in your house or the animals. Be there. Tap into it. All that ether wants to come into your body.
I love that.
You got to let it. I'm preaching.
Love it. That silence is so powerful, and people don't realize that the vast majority of us have lived a life where we're consistently being taking in extraordinary amounts of information, whether it's from TV or podcasts or what's going on around you with all the different little bells and whistles and gadgets that we have. It's nothing like, could some of you even fathom that little kids used to spend the entire evening in the winter where it's dark for 16 hours a day, and the best form of entertainment they had was a candle with little cutout shapes that they'd just spin around on the walls and tell stories that you had to reach in internally and not be externally entertained, that you had to reach in inside and connect with the universe and think of things. One thing I did want to bring back, so I completely agree with James. The timing, while it is important, that doesn't mean don't swing. So what we have here is basically like a baseball player. And a baseball player, he can swing the bat at the exact same strength every time.
Yeah.
But if he hits it at just that right time, that thing will just fire out of the park like magic. Like he didn't even hardly swing it. It looks so easy. And then the next time it's, he doesn't hit it exactly right, and he gets a single or a double or a triple, which there's nothing wrong with. Swing for that single and double and triple. All I'm wanting you to understand is if you're doing it at the exact right time, that's when that Jose Canseco, it flew 600 yards, it left the stadium. The guy doesn't even look like he swung the bat hardly.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about with the timing. And that's something that you're going to learn as you start practicing.
As you fuck up. Yep.
Exactly. You're going to realize that, well, if I just wait that extra second when I do this one thing, it works out way better. That's practice like anything else, over and over again, in observation. Understanding that observation is always the greatest key. The greatest minds that James brought up, like Nikola Tesla and Victor Schauberger, anybody like that, if you start reading their works, the first thing they talk about is observation. Well, I was sitting here and I was looking at that thing and it started doing some stuff and I noticed. Like, stop and think about that. Look at what's going on around you in the world and start looking at how that works. The world is very upfront about things.
Yep, it is. And the less afraid you are of magic, the more you're going to see it all around you, good and bad.
Absolutely.
And when you start to see the bad magic around you, you'll notice how easy it is to topple. You'll notice how powerful a giggle is. You'll notice how powerful a laugh is. These are oscillations that break a spell. They break a trance in somebody. If you watch my last live stream about magic, I spoke about a cream pie in the face. A good magic spell is a cream pie in someone's face. It's not an insult. It's just a complete shock to the system, and they reset. And that's all it takes. You don't have to come in and go ha 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 ha. It's as simple as a small giggle. It's as simple as a freaking sticker on top of another sticker. And that's what Disney's telling you, where it's different, where it's like, no, you have to have traumatic clothing and you have to.
And be born the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. Magic is simple. It's as simple as blossoms. It's as simple as cherries. It's as simple as 50 roosters in the same yard. You're going to find that the synchronicity itself is going to start feeding you. And once you start tapping into the synchronicity, you can really start to see what's happening. Anytime you feel a coincidence, anytime you feel a mark of, oh, wow, that's so weird. I was just talking about 19, and here are 19 pieces of silver in this dish. That's so weird. What you're calling weird is literally plasma pouring into your body. It's pouring into your body because you recognized what's happening. You recognize the world for what it is. You're not using your retinas. You're not using your dopamine to determine what you're going to see. You've tapped into something deeper now. You have an empathic connection with the ether. And when you have an empathic connection with the ether, synchronicity feeds you. It's not a glitch in the matrix. It's the complete opposite. It's a root. It's a root tapped into the soil that hits a vein of water. And that water that you feel, that's synchronicity. And the more you're tuned into magic, the more you're going to find, well, I was going to go out there because I heard the roosters fighting and they freaking worked it out. Like before I could get out there, they just worked it out. You're going to find this stuff's happening all the time. It's not just working out. It's because you're tapped in. You're tapped into your surroundings. You're bigger than your body. Your roots, imagine your body with roots shooting out in every direction simultaneously, every single direction. And the more magical you connect in the world, the more those roots are tapping into the ether all around you. And they're feelers, just like whiskers on a cat. These roots are feelers out in the ether. And they're able to know, hey, James, don't go into the store right now because there's actually this person named Tom and he's total dick. He's in a bad mood right now. And you're just going to notice this flower because it's really beautiful. You don't even realize what you're missing. Like, you don't even realize that you're avoiding something really, really awkward or something that isn't right for you. But you're not even going to notice that because you're tapped into something else. You now have a sixth sense that's navigating the world for you. And you're going to start to become really, really powerful. I'm going to give you an example. The phrase humanity is not a virus is now in Canada in 2 places, in Ottawa. It's on 2 cars in Ottawa. I did not drive to Ottawa and put a sticker on someone's car that says humanity is not a virus. I didn't do that. I have those stickers are all over the place now. That shows you that I have some sort of connection into the ether that transmutes far past any kind of state line or even country line. And I'm a tiny magician. You guys learn this stuff as fast as you can right now. This is your work right now. We need this right now. I'm calling all witches. We need witches, stat. We need wizards, stat. We need people that are tapped in their environment, stat, right now. And a lot of people are like, no, fuck all that. Wizards and witches are evil. You don't understand how the world works. There's no such thing as evil inside of prana. Prana is just energy. Evil is just the lack of energy. That's really all it means. Got anything, Ben?
Yeah, as far as the when the part of the reason that synchronicities are going to start happening is because this is something you are seeking, you're becoming involved in. And this is such a simple thing to see in the world, because tomorrow I could swear to you today I never see a white ranger. And if I go out and I purchase a white ranger tomorrow and I drive that bugger home, within a week, I can name you 4 white rangers that are rolling around town that I'm going to all of a sudden start noticing.
Yep.
It's just as simple as that. People, they wanted to make magic so horribly confusing, but understand that what James and I are doing right now, if I would have told you this 100 years ago, that I'm going to sit in California and James is going to sit in Carolina, and him and I are going to be talking to each other, seeing each other, and able to even share that with people in Canada and wherever else, they would call me a liar. That is absolute magic. That James is somehow fitting in this tiny little screen. How the hell are you in there, James? How are you fitting in there talking to me? You know, this is magic. When we're talking about magic, all we're talking about is forces that we cannot easily recognize. It's basically the exact opposite of your typical science, where you can weigh, measure, see it. It's right there. What we're talking about instead is just the unseen forces. The fact that I know I can smell something farted. Is that magic? No, I smelt the dog fart. I didn't see it, but I know it happened. Like, this is, so we're just dealing with forces that your typical 5 senses are not capable of registering. That doesn't mean they aren't there. That doesn't mean that the things aren't happening. And it doesn't mean that you can't also deal with it. That's what as above, so below is for. Understanding that if I do this thing on this smaller scale, it will also work on this grander scale, even though I don't really quite understand it.
Yep. In fact, you just proved my technology of belief, because it's a sixth sense. You're going to have to believe in magic. You're not going to, magic's not going to write you a fucking postcard and say, hi, I exist. I'm having a great day on the beach. You're going to have to believe. And that proves to you, all of this comes from you. Your belief is a plasma. It's a living plasma. It pours out of you no matter where you go. If you're going to believe in government, if you're going to believe that you're a piece of shit, if you're going to believe that you're awesome, if you're going to believe that you can change the world, all of those are the exact same kind of prana. It's the exact same kind of energy. The reason why I'm calling it prana is I'm not trying to be new agey. I'm trying to give you tangible fingers that you can use in your mind, like chopsticks, that you can grab and you can see. Because when you use the word prana, you can start to understand, well, what would that look like? Oh, it's kind of like a warm, effervescent orange, even though I can't see it. That's kind of what it is. It's when you're saying it's warm, it's effervescent, it's orange, what you're really doing is you're creating it inside your mind palace, and it's giving you a vessel. Okay, you create the space, the void in your mind, and then you fill that mind with belief. You fill the vessel with whatever it is you want to fill it with. It's no different than a crystal. It's no different than a plant. It's no different than a pet. It's no different than food that you're making. All of these things are vessels, and we're filling it with. We live in a material world for one purpose. We need things to store things. We need containers. This universe is like a giant container store, and you have a fetish for organization. And you're here walking around going, well, I could put my belief in this box, and then I could put this belief in this box, and I can put this belief in this box. That's why you have a physical world. You guys, we've lost touch by thinking that the physical world is the object itself. We're walking around with a million containers, and we're pretending like they're full because we think that's all that life is. But it's not. You get to put prana into those containers. And once you start to understand that that's how it works, you're going to be seeing the world for the first time in its real form. That's why silver is so powerful, because it holds that prana so well. It's just such a great receptor for it. That's why plastic is harder to put prana into. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's going to be a lot harder. It's not going to last as long. All of these elements are here for a reason. All of these containers are here because you're here to put your belief into it. But you've been told belief is wrong. You've been told that no, it's knowledge is right, belief is wrong. No, knowledge is the lack of belief. The lack of belief means it's not going to have any power or prana behind it. It's a fictitious relationship with the world. And right now we are fighting fiction. Right now, it's humanity versus fiction. The corporate fiction versus the human element. And that's what this war is all about, man. It's the percolation of life and the raining down of diarrhea of propaganda, of lies, of fiction. And it's we are battling in between. Yes, diarrhea rain. That's how fucking bad it is. But I'm gonna stop talking about diarrhea, but it's compost, man. It's compost. We can turn it into compost. We can grow stuff out of this. I probably lost 30 people just saying that. But it's okay.
You lost 30 people to diarrhea rain. I'm dying over here.
Anyway, we should probably kind of wrap it up, sorta.
Yeah, it's probably about that time, brother.
Anything else you wanna say, Ben, or are you good?
I just want to reiterate and understand that when James is talking about filling things, you're not filling it with thought. You're filling it with emotion. Emotion's got that density. That's that wall that you can feel, that room, that shift. You don't feel a thought. That emotion. I can sit and think about, well, you know what? I wouldn't like it very much if this lady over here. Well, no, I don't like it. I'd have all kinds of feelings about it. You know,
It wouldn't just be this thought. A thought doesn't have a reality to it. You've got to run it through the reality before you actually have an emotion about it and you have a density about it. Otherwise, it's just etheric. And understand that they're trying to bring their emotion and their thought together. This world that they want is not created. That's why they need to force this on you and take away your power, because this is all of our reality. We share this reality, and they're trying to make it a bass chorus with no tenor, no soprano, no anything. And we're letting them do it. Well, don't change the symphony. Start adding your own notes into it. Don't let them run you around by the nose and tell you bass is the only thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Right on, man. Right on. I love you, Ben. You're so fucking wise.
I love you, brother.
You're so awesome, dude. I'm so glad I met you. You've taught me so much about magic from a completely different perspective, and it's just, I'm so thankful. It's beautiful that we're using the black onks that they built to try and destroy us, and we're using it to train each other. We're using it to hone our skills. It's just, I just fucking love that. I love that the crystals inside of these devices that are allowing us to talk are still serving us, no matter how evil the hookers are that own the equipment or the wires in between. Like, it's a really beautiful thing. It really is.
Yes, it is. Where poison oak grows, soaproot or manzanita will grow next to it.
Right.
There will always be a balance.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys, we're going to sign off for now. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate you too. And
man, I just love talking with you, brother. It's just
likewise.
Wow.
I really encourage you guys. It doesn't have to be Humanity's Not a Virus, but if you want a good spell, that's a free spell. You can have it. And the more, keep in mind that when you put that on there, you're also setting up a node where everyone else who's put up that same sticker, you're tapping into that free energy. So I really, really encourage you to
creating a web. Creating a web.
Yep. I also want to tell some people that the heart is surrounded by neurons. And whenever you hear the word neuron, most of you guys are going to think that it's a brain thing. And I want you to know that the most important neurons in your body are actually not in the brain. They're actually surrounding your heart. And you can look this up and see your heart has its own system of thought, of communication. And each of us can be neurons, living neurons of the soil. But we're going to talk to each other through our hearts. Our hearts are connected. I say hearts because we are fighting the opposite of heart. And that's an evacuation. And the deeper you're going to go inside your body, it's going to be inside the heart. So remember the neurons in your heart. We connect each other through those neurons. You're going to think of something Ben said in 2 hours, and it's going to make your heart spark. The neuron in your heart's still going to be firing. And Ben's not going to know that it was Amanda or Bren or Liz or Cole. He's just going to be trying to chase a rooster. He's going to feel some prana from you because you remembered that. We are connected. We just can't see it because we need belief to understand that it's already happening. And when you put that belief out there, you'll see the synchronicity that just proves it true. So keep doing that. Mess up. Practice magic. Keep trying this stuff. Make the world your dojo. Anyway, I have trouble saying goodbye sometimes. So that's all. All right.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Bye, guys.
And let's get in the fight.
Yep. Time to go.